We've spoken of 3DB and its variety, the station and its stars, its news, its sport. But there's one ingredient in the early days of DB that more than paid its way and helped build the enviable reputation of this station: drama. Lux Radio Theatre, Address Unknown, Dr. Paul, Courtship and Marriage, Lavender Grove, Dad and Dave, Martin's Corner, When a Girl Marries, and the best known of all, D24. This was real theatre of the mind stuff. Australian radio drama was considered the best in the world, and from its earliest days too, even when we did a local Australian version of an American idea.
The distributors of black and white cigarettes now have pleasure in presenting their weekly feature, The March of Time.
The man who announced The March of Time was the man who was to become one of our most respected radio and television actors, Keith Eden, who joined 3DB in 1935.
So I took this job on at £3 a week as a radio announcer and did the narration for The March of Time, which was the biggest at that particular time nationwide news broadcast prior to the war, where Hitler was involving himself all over the place. So it was very dramatic times, and I did these very fast narrations like Graham McNamee of the American counterpart of that particular type of thing. They had a litigation about this, I think. We called it The March of Time, and we found we weren't allowed to call it The March of Time, so it finished up as Time Marches On. And so we stayed with the world events of the past 7 days, brought to you a living drama, a quickly changing panorama of humour and tragedy as time marches on. You know, that was the tag to it.
Back in those early years, they were sticklers for authenticity. Here's proof of that from Keith Eden.
They hired a bloke called Gerd Roehlen, who at one time was the biggest producer of Williamson's. He was tremendous, old George, and they put him on the staff. And one of the cast in that particular time was a fellow called Fred MacDonald, who was the original Dave in Dad and Dave, and they made the film with Bert Bailey. And old George was a great realist for effects, so he had a great big, enormous tub in the studio, a great big, enormous tub it was, filled with water. And we're doing a thing called Buccaneer Bay. And in the course of it, of course, some of them had to walk the plank. So old George, being a realist, he had a plank lined up in the studio floor, that small studio upstairs, it was very small, lined up there, and Fred had to walk the plank. And Fred said, "What do I do when I get to the end of it?" He said, "You jump in the water." So Fred George just walked up this plank and went boom into this great big barrel, and this splash sound came. He was a fantastic bloke, old Gerd Roehlen. He was a great producer for Williamson's.
And speaking of producers, the one name that's absolutely synonymous with drama in Australia is Hector Crawford. He first came to real prominence in plays and serials produced by him and his sister Dorothy for broadcast on 3DB.
Then Hector came into it. We had this jobbing house in Market Street at Broadcast Exchange. He was a manager. And after a period of time, he decided he'd produce his own programs, and Dorothy became the director. And she learned from the actors. There was a sort of a close sort of cell of actors. There were about half a dozen of us who'd old stage actors and people like that who'd learnt radio. And she didn't know anything about that part of it then. So she didn't say a word for quite, say, 6 months. But she learned from their technique, and then she began to develop her production technique from what she'd learned from the actors. And she became the best director of serials, radio serials, of any of them. By far the best.
His Worship, Mr. Canning, the Staff Entry Magistrate who's hearing this case, has taken his place in chambers, and the case is about to recommence.
Evidence against O'Brien, past heard. John Henry O'Brien.
John Henry O'Brien, the witness who was was giving evidence in the last session, has now taken his position in chambers, and the cross-examination by Mr. Wade for the applicant will
Now,
continue.
Mr. O'Brien, prior to the adjournment of the court, we were concerning ourselves with the conversation you had with Lloyd Bennett on the morning of June the 8th, after the tennis club dance at which he announced his engagement to Margaret Evans, the applicant in this case. You remember that?
And that was Keith Eden in an excerpt from an early Crawford production called Consider Your Verdict, which in 1957 found its way to TV. It's been mentioned already the quality of our Australian actors. For verification, Roland Strong, who with Crawford Productions wrote, produced, narrated and acted in some of their best-known productions.
Now, Freddie B used to start about till 8:30 in the morning and go through till midday, virtually with quarter-hour blocks of serial. So there's a whole morning, every week, every day, every week, playing radio serials. Well, that meant a lot of radio serials. Fortunately, we made a lot of them. And it was very big indeed. We have, I believe, the best radio actors in the world, and I say that without hesitation. That's a pretty big statement. But people like Doug Kelly, Keith Eden, Patricia Kennedy, I could name them all. But we had the best actors in the world, and sometimes the best scripts. Better than America, better than England, and it was a pretty big business.
The most successful of all Crawford production dramas was the show that was to become the forerunner of television's Homicide, Division 4, and Matlock Police.
D24. From the files of the Victoria Police, for the first time come these true stories of unceasing war against crime, of day and night vigilance that protects our life and our property, and of the nerve center of the Police Information Bureau, D24.
Hello, D24. There's a policeman lying in the middle of the road in High Street, St Kilda. He's been shot.
The narrator, of course, was Roland Strong. D24 was the most successful radio drama ever heard in Melbourne. In the 1950s, 70% of radio listeners each Tuesday evening at 8:30 were tuned to 3DB.
Yeah, about 5 out of 6 people, I think, who were tuned to radio were listening to D24. Well, it was true stories. We had a policeman on the staff, virtually, seconded to us from the police force, and they gave us factual stories, in the actual briefs, the actual court depositions, and we made the story out of that. So it was true, and it impressed people very much.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. And do you buy this sort of thing?
An old wash copper, eh?
Maybe old, but it's in good condition.
Looks all right.
How much will you give me for it?
Let me see now. £3.
I'll break it down. It's worth twice that much.
Not to me, it isn't. Not much demand for this kind of thing, you know.
Make it £4.
I'll make it 3.5.
All right. But I still don't think it's enough.
Try somewhere else if you like.
No, I haven't got time. Give us the dough, will you?
All right. 1, 2, 3 pounds, 10 shillings. There you are.
Thanks. See you again.
Oh, just a minute.
Huh?
I'll have to enter it up in the book.
What for?
Oh, we have to do that, you know.
Oh, righto.
You give me your name and address, I'll enter it up.
Colin Evans.
Colin Evans.
14 Elfin Grove.
14 Elfin Grove.
Balaclava.
Balaclava. And now sign here.
Okay. There you are.
Thanks.
Sure.
nothing unusual about that transaction, was there? The second-hand dealer Martin put the wash copper into stock and forgot all about it. But a week or so later, he was in the back room of his shop when his young assistant brought him a surprising piece of information.
Hi, Mr. Martin?
Yes, Bill.
There's a man out there says he wants to see you in a hurry.
What about?
Oh, he says you bought a wash copper from him the other day. And now he's got another one to sell.
Another wash copper? It's funny.
Why?
Well, last time he didn't think I gave him enough for it. Yet now he's back with another one.
Well, what'll I tell him?
Tell him to wait a few minutes. I don't like the look of this. You keep him there while I ring the police.
The police?
Yeah. Won't do any harm to check up.
Oh, what'll I talk to him about?
Just ask him some of the questions you're always asking me.
Oh, yeah, righto.
And shut the door after you.
Yeah, righto.
Great memories of a wonderful drama series. Of course, with such a phenomenal success as D24 on their hands, Roehlen Strong and all associated would have been financially made for life.
Oh, yes. Well, you'd imagine so, wouldn't you? With a rating of 70%, did you say, 70? Yes, I got a grand total, I think, for doing a lot of it. In fact, practically all of it. £18 a week. Well, that's hardly retiring allowance, is it?
Only names, place names, and dates were altered in this true story. It was dramatized from the files of the Victoria Police by Roehlen Strong, who now says goodbye until the same time next week, when there'll be another true story in this series, D24, which was produced in the studios of Hector Crawford Productions by Dorothy Crawford.
Another dramatic series on 3DB, but admittedly not with the huge national success of D24, was The Faker-McGangeys. And this is its theme. And I can hear you saying now, the Faker-who? The Faker-McGangeys was a group of children who had daily adventures in the children's program conducted by a wonderful lady called Jean Lawson. And no tribute to the station's 60 years of broadcasting would be complete without saluting her. Jean Lawson joined 3DB in the late 30s, and for 21 years produced and compared one of the most articulate, intelligent, and entertaining children's programs ever heard in Melbourne. Its features included a junior naturalist club conducted by the well-loved Crosby Morrison. The program had its own magazine, Patchwork Press, its own stamp club, and there were outside broadcasts from theatres, museums, yachts, and even from the hallowed turf of the Melbourne cricket ground. And 3 days a week, the continuing story of the Faker-McGangeys. In this, Jean gave a start to many aspiring actors and actresses, including Louis Viander, currently touring Australia with Rex Harrison and Claudette Colbert, and due to return to his highly successful career in London. Beverly Dunn, one of Australia's most versatile actresses in theatre, radio and television. And the internationally acclaimed Zoe Caldwell. She started in Jean's beloved Faker-McGangeys. All of Jean's children's programs were live to air, and unfortunately, to the best of our knowledge, there is no recorded material in existence. And that's a pity. I was lucky enough to be one of the children chosen to appear in the Faker-McGangeys. I played the role of Banjo, and I remember the fun to this very day. But I especially remember the late Jean Lawson, who died last year. She was one of the kindest and most elegant people you could ever meet. And she was also one of the finest radio broadcasters this city has ever known.